And so, whether by circumstances or by deliberate choice, your life will be disrupted. And I say this based on my own story. I'll tell you a brief story about myself before we carry on. I used to work in corporate, and one day I went to work and my boss called me in for what I thought was a meeting for me to bring him up to speed with what has been happening. And when I walked into that meeting, because of time factor, I will not have time to tell us the full story, but for those who want to get more into it, I did a TED talk on this, so it's on YouTube. But however, when I walked into my boss's office that morning, and the look on his face, when someone looks at you and you're like, something is wrong. I'm like, okay, what did I do? And the smile on my face quickly faded. And I stood there by the door waiting for him to say the next thing, and he just sat there looking at me. All of these happened like maybe 30 seconds or so, but it felt like eternity because I could see and felt that something was wrong. He asked me to sit down, and I sat down, and I could feel my heart wanting to pant out of my chest. So he looked at me and he said, there has been some restructuring happening, and they have been thinking what better way to tell me, but there's no better way to tell me than to let me know my position is no longer needed. I was like, what? When I woke up this morning, this was not the plan I had for my day. Those words hit me like a truck on high speed because I did not see retrenchment coming. My boss used to tell me plans 5 years ahead of time. Again, we're back to the 5-year plan, right? We would do this, we would do this, we would do this, and one morning, it was all gone. And to say that day and the weeks and the months, even the years that followed, were some of the most difficult time of my life would be an understatement. Because I had no plan B, and plan B didn't have me either. I was like, I have a job. I signed a permanent contract of employment, and in one moment, it was gone. But when that happened, it threw me into the deep end. When you buy a car, you start seeing that particular mark of car everywhere. For me, it was now because I've been retrenched, news about retrenchment would jump on me. I was like, oh, so I wasn't the only one who was retrenched. And I started asking the questions, okay, if this many people are being laid off by organizations, how do organizations continue to thrive when they let go so many people? And I remember vividly typing that question on Google. Thank God for Google. I wanted to know how my boss was coping without me. I typed that question. How do organizations continue to thrive when they let go so many people? And for the first time, I came across concepts like automation, artificial intelligence, and robotics. These were things that I was not paying attention to. Mind you, look, it blew my mind. I was like, there's a whole world out here that I didn't even know existed. Prior to me being laid off, the only technology I knew was to work on my computer, send emails, answer phone calls. There was nothing beyond that. And I'm on the internet, and I'm seeing concepts around artificial intelligence, and it took me, I was like, there is intelligence called artificial? This was in 2016, by the way. Look, that's how clueless I was. I was beyond clueless. But it's interesting. I am so interested now in this thing. Also, it was a way for me to get over the heartbreak of losing my job, right? I'm jobless. I have enough time in my hands. I need to fill that vacuum with something. So I'm reading on these things. I'm being fascinated by this whole world of artificial intelligence. And at some point, I started writing about it on social media, not thinking anything would come of it. And people became intrigued and would ask me questions as though I was the expert. And I will laugh and be like, if one day you knew. I'm as clueless as you are, right? But because they're asking these questions and I'm being fascinated by everything everyone is asking, I go back online and I dug myself more and more into that rabbit hole that I started. So the more I researched and wrote about it, the more interested it became for me. And at one point I thought, someone should write the book about this. But in a million years, I didn't think that someone would be me. Because I used to think, you need to be really smart to write a book, right? And I'm like, no way, I cannot write a book. And when an idea has taken hold of you, if you don't give in to that idea, it sort of makes you miserable. The idea to write a book will not leave me. And at some point, I went to a friend. I was like, hey, do you think I can write a book? Like, of course, you can do anything you want. You're such a smart woman. I'm like, but I don't have a degree. Like, what has a book got to do with a degree? Just write what you are finding out there. And so it evolved from those social media posts and blog articles because I started my website back then, and evolved from social media posts to articles and to a book. And I thought, what better title than Disrupt Yourself or Be Disrupted? Because here I was minding my business and my boss disrupted my life just like that. So I thought, if I can bring these conversations to the forefront, perhaps many people can be better prepared than I was for disruption. Many people can ask uncomfortable questions that I did not ask myself. And perhaps if you can face these uncomfortable questions, now you can do something about minimizing the disruption that you will face, because again, there's no neutral ground. There's no one who will be left untouched by artificial intelligence. So I don't want to promise you that if you can ask these questions, then you are free from AI. No. We are all going to face the consequences, so to say, of artificial intelligence, as well as the potential of artificial intelligence. We had a panel conversation at a conference at Santon Convention Center just 2 days ago. And there was a question around job loss and all of these things. And somebody answered and was promising, like, no, AI will take away jobs, but it will also produce more jobs. And in my opinion, I was like, I don't think it's that much of a straight line, right? We are going to, of course, embrace the benefits of artificial intelligence, but we cannot also escape the consequences. Let's not kid ourselves that we are going to fully escape the consequences of this technology that is disrupting everything, but I digress. So the questions I wanted people to think and ask themselves: will I still be relevant in the next 3 to 5 years? These are uncomfortable questions. Perhaps if I'd asked, I would have been better prepared. How is technology changing my industry? How is technology changing my profession? How can I leverage new technologies to remain relevant? What skills do I need to develop so that I can complement artificial intelligence or enhance my value in the workplace? People are not asking these questions. They're sort of watching it from the fence, and that's not a good strategy. How can I use AI to solve existing problems or create new solutions in my field? What opportunities does AI present for innovation? Many people are scared to ask these questions. And if you're a parent in the house, how do I raise my kids differently to prepare them for the future? Wrong questions to ask. And a lot of people are asking these wrong questions. But when you ask, will AI steal my job? The answer is yes. In so many ways, AI is already doing part of your job. Will AI take over everything? The answer is yes. And then, so when you ask these type of questions, it doesn't help you. How can I stop technological advancement? Well, good luck. Try. You can try. It's like trying to stop water. Has anyone ever tried to stop a river or water? You know, water is like the tap, you can turn it off. But has anyone ever tried to stop a river? You can't. That is, if you are attempting to stop the progress of technology, you're essentially trying to stop human progress. Will AI make people dumber over time? We all know the answer to that. Right? So these are questions that fosters a sense of doom rather than exploring how AI can help you become better. These questions reinforce fear, not forward thinking. And they position you as a passive victim of technology. And that's a terrible place to be. You and I, we don't want to be a passive victim of technology. Anyone here wants to be a victim of technology? I know that there are people that love victimhood. But if you try it with technology, you essentially become irrelevant. So, some of the trends that are happening in the world today is that tech is in every sector. All right, there's no specific sector that you can say, oh, this is now a tech sector. We know, of course, we still know of our big tech guys, your Google, your Meta, your Apple, but technology is everywhere. And so every CEO today is a tech CEO, whether they are aware of it or not. Every leader is a tech leader, whether they are aware of it or not. And everybody is now a tech person. Every company is a tech company today. These are the trends that are happening. Every industry is now being infiltrated by technology, and I'll get into details at some point in the presentation.